take a seat and put your feet up. We gon' meet up. Sit with me and sip some tea with Remy Mulatto. Give me bottles of Hennessy and Moscato. They had enough already, but there's plenty to follow. I stay poetic, but Jay noetic, remaining effective. Conversation getting heavy, staying respected, playing the record, maintaining collective. Saying what you think, it ain't no place for rejection. I claim it, I meant it. It's mostly everybody talking honestly over drinks. Tell me what you think. It's mostly everybody talking honestly over drinks. So tell me what you think. It's mostly everybody talking honestly over drinks. Tell me what you think. It's mostly everybody talking honestly over drinks. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think.
Welcome to a Method Podcast. I'm Jay Noetic.
I'm Remy Mulatto.
I'm Cass.
Y'all know that I like to bring the content sometimes.
You know I bring the chaos.
I bring the balance.
And with that, we believe the best way to have truthful conversations is to what?
Is to have mostly everybody
Talking honestly.
over drinks.
And that's what we call motherfucking method.
Hey. All right.
That's all right. You can have your water. It's all right.
I'm sipping on my water today.
Nothing wrong with it. Hey, if it's your first time here, remember to hit that subscribe button, that notification button, that share button, that like button. That way you can be notified when the new podcast episode drops.
Yeah, and let us know y'all here. You know what I'm saying? Tell your friends, tell everybody what's going on. And we glad y'all kicking it with us tonight.
Yeah, y'all know we go live every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. We are a little over halfway through season. We're at episode 11. We're pushing through.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What y'all drinking on, man?
I'm sipping on Crown water.
Crown water?
No, it's just water.
Oh.
It's just water.
It's just
water.
Good old H2O.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Well, I'm the only one drinking tonight. I'm drinking a little bit of vodka and Coca-Cola.
Vodka and Coke. I don't think I've ever had that combo.
It ain't the greatest.
No, I don't imagine so.
It ain't the worst either. I don't like Hennessy. I feel like Hennessy is not good. But it is what it is. Metalheads, what are y'all drinking on? What are y'all sipping on?
What y'all drinking?
Oh, I see water. Somebody's
water as well.
throwing up, it looks like.
They're probably
probably because of the vodka. No, because of the vodka and Coke, I guarantee.
I feel like I see a lot of red wine drinkers in these comments.
Maybe.
Look like a lot of red wine drinkers.
Hey man, how was your week though?
It's been a pretty good week for me. You know, my life was falling apart last week, but it kind of got back to it this week. So
he's a little over exaggerating. He always feels like his life is falling apart.
Yeah, every week I'll be having a crisis. You know what I'm saying? But my shit bounces back, so I guess it's not that bad. So I'm good. Everything's good. Can't complain. How about you, Cass? How was your week?
My week is good. I'm actually having a very productive week.
Yeah.
This time of the year is always a little stressful for me too, but it's also exciting because I feel like it's a great opportunity for me to kind of reflect and then start mapping out the next year, try to get a head start on the next year if I can, work-wise and hobby-wise and whatever else-wise. So
right on.
I'm excited.
That's what's up.
What about you, sir?
What about you, Jay?
My week has been horrible.
No.
Really?
My life is falling apart.
You're lying.
That can't be true.
I know based on your motherfucking
we had tacos last night, so
did have
I know
tacos
he's
last
having
night.
a good week.
And based on your Facebook posts, like you like the most peaceful motherfucker.
I know. Do you see him? Do you see him gloat about his sleep time?
Yeah,
Oh,
that.
Sleeping like a baby.
Who's not getting 7.5 hours
I'm
of
not.
sleep?
Last 2 nights I got maybe like 3 to 4 hours because I do this thing. My body does this thing where like I'll go to sleep. I can get to sleep on time, but then I'll just wake up at 2, 3 a.m. Can't do shit about it. I'm just up and I'll be up for the next 4 hours. So
I'm on 7 to 8 right now, and I'm loving life.
Nice.
Now I am still waking up between that like 1 to 3, but it's usually because I have to empty my bladder.
Yeah.
And then I'm having
right
no issue going right back to sleep. So it's beautiful right now for me.
Well, I'm glad y'all are part of my tribe, my sleeping tribe. All right, man. Let's get into what we call a method movie.
I'm feeling
All right, man. Y'all know what I do Method Movie. But if the case is your first time watching us and listening to us, I'm about to play a movie clip for these two and for you as well, Method Heads. They need to guess the movie before one another and before you. And if you know it before them, shout it out. All right. I feel like lately y'all been on it though, right?
Remi's
Haven't
been
y'all
on
gotten
it. Remy has been on it.
Yeah.
I have not.
Okay.
I've been derailed.
Yeah, because you got that. What was that movie that
I
she got
got
in
the
like a
first
split
one.
second?
She got a couple. You didn't get the astronaut one, the black woman astronaut one. I did. Hidden Figures. Who got that one?
I
got
couldn't
that
figure
one.
out the
I got Hidden
name.
Figures.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go. What movie is this?
My business, you spooked up by the white man. All right, see, that's the shit I'm talking about. Y'all back up and leave Levy alone.
Oh, come on, Levy. We was all just having fun. So you know, he ain't said nothing about you. He ain't said about me. You just taking it all wrong.
Ain't meant nothing bad, Levy. Levy got to be
Life?
Levy. You
No.
don't need nobody
That's
messing with
kinda
him
what I
about
was
the white. You don't know nothing about me.
Bunch of old black
You don't
dudes
know me.
arguing.
You don't know nothing about what kind of blood I got, what kind of heart I got beat here. Was 8 years old.
What y'all think in the
Gang of white
comments?
men coming to my daddy's house and have to do with my mom.
Wait, I know who this is. Oh, I know what this is.
Who's living in
You gotta get the
Jefferson
movie
County.
title correct. I'm not giving no hints.
I don't know the movie title, but I know the
My
movie
daddy's name was
All right.
Memphis.
because I know who the actor is. That's Chadwick Boseman, ain't it?
It is Chadwick
Yeah.
Boseman.
Man, I'm talking good, man. Grow anything you want.
Damn it.
You know, going
It was
off
on
the shares
Netflix.
and bought this
It was a
land
dope
from
ass
his
movie.
widow woman
Netflix.
after he done passed on. Folks called him an uppity nigga because he done
Think about the
saved and
movies he's
borrowed
done.
and
What movies
bought
has
this
he
land.
done?
Ay.
Anyone in the comments know what
Coming on
movie this
playing
is?
time.
Did I stump him this week?
My daddy went into Natchez to get
I
him
know
some
the movie,
seed
I
and
just don't know the
fertilizer.
name.
It's all like I can see it and I can't
I know-
think of the name.
I know Bottom is in the name, right?
Take care of your mama. while I'm
Somebody
gone.
said 21 Bridges.
It's not 21
Nah.
Bridges. Good guess.
That
All
was a
right.
good guess.
I think I stumped him.
Ah.
Hold on. Can I give myself a hand to clap? Hold on. Yes. I stumped him.
Boo.
This is Ma Rainey's
Ma Rainey's
Black Bottom.
Yeah.
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom came out in 2020.
Mm.
Dang it.
IMDb,
Great movie,
yes. IMDb gave it 6.9 out of 10. How many out of one through 5? How many meths do you give it?
I would give it a good 8.5. I think. I thought it was a great movie, and I thought his performance was phenomenal.
I agree.
And it was like one of his
So you
last.
saw it? You saw it?
I did see. I couldn't think of the dang name either. I was like sitting here like watching the movie in my brain. Like,
Yeah, it was a really
Yeah.
great movie.
And it was posthumous for him. Like it
Justin
came out
got it.
after he died or whatever, and
yeah.
he was like, I damn near cried just watching him because I was like, man, like this motherfucker was out here killing it.
That
So
was my
talented.
watching the movie. You can actually you can tell that after the fact you know that he was sick.
Yes.
You can
Yeah,
tell that he
you
was
can-
really
yeah.
that he was sick and he was
Yeah.
that something wasn't
You
right.
could see it.
What do y'all remember most about that movie? Because for me, I just remember watching it and thinking, man, this man, like you said, was out here acting, and even though he knew his time was short, he kept pushing and kept going, and it was done really well. But the whole time I watched it, I was just thinking about him and his performance, and like knowing this is the last time we will ever see him in a movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I remember his performance being really strong, like the parts where he was just kind of, just fully in character. And it was powerful. And then I also remember, was it who was it? Was it Viola Davis? That was her, wasn't it?
I don't remember all.
Yeah, Viola Davis
she
played
in?
Ma Rainey, and
Oh, yeah.
she was she was a lesbian, and I remember that relationship and seeing that dynamic because it didn't like they weren't like completely obvious about it, but then you saw her dynamic with her, who her lover was supposed to be.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. That was an interesting performance as well. But yeah, it was a good ass movie.
It was
Good
very
ass
good.
movie.
I just kept thinking how like he was just giving it everything he had.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
You know.
He shows so much passion in that movie, man. It was beautiful. And
Which,
I've only seen it once.
yeah, I just
I only watched it once too.
Probably need to go back and watch it again. Which
Yeah.
movie of Chadwick Boseman did y'all like the best? I feel like either for me, it was 42, where he played Jackie
Robinson,
or Get On Up, when he played James Brown.
James Brown. I actually haven't seen either one of those.
I haven't seen either of those either.
They're really
Yeah,
good.
I heard
They're
42
really
is
good.
For me, it's always gonna be Black Panther.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously. Like I just because that movie for me was just so impactful, and then for him to be the guy, you know, to be T'Challa, that's iconic for me.
I feel like Black Panther obviously is the bigger movie, but I don't think it's his best acting job.
No.
Right? How much deep acting did he have to do in Black Panther other than be fucking cool?
And African.
And African.
And African.
And the accent is hard.
Yeah,
I would say that. I would say that. That's true. That is true. I will take that back. Well, congratulations to myself.
Dang.
For the first time in like 2 months, I stumped them both.
Nice.
But I did not stump them at the head because Justin did
got
get it.
Justin said like he watched him. He's watched all his movies.
Yeah, that's what's up. All right, man. I think it's time to transition over to our next segment. What we call it, Remy?
Is it Method Weekly?
That's right. Method Weekly.
Let's go.
In the Method Weekly, we are talking about. What are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about the GMA co-hosts Amy Robach and TJ Holmes, two reporters who were both married, were
to other people
were recently photographed. Cass, tell us what exactly happened in this scandal.
I'm going to steal the LA Times
That's all right.
opening line for their article. Good morning, America. That's what I'm going to call it.
Good morning, America.
TJ Holmes and Amy Robach. So they are both co-hosts on Good Morning America. And they were recently exposed for an alleged months-long affair that they've been having behind the scenes, behind their partners' backs. And they actually continued to go on air and work together even after pictures surfaced and videos surfaced, as if nothing was happening. They both left their spouses. TJ Holmes is a black man. He's married to a black lawyer.
Officially left their spouses? Officially
They both have left their spouses. They've shut down their Instagram accounts. And now Good Morning America has officially put them on leave. So they are no longer on air right now. But the day that I found out about it, a girlfriend made me privy to it. And the day I found out about it, I looked it up and I saw they were oh, well, they're still on the show. So I actually went to the video, and it was so funny because it was those two and they were sitting apart from each other, and there was a third co-host in the middle. So you know dang well she knew everything what was going on and was just all right, I gotta sit here and do this show with these two adulterers and act like everything is fine. But now it's coming out that this TJ Holmes, he's been a very busy man. So apparently he's been having multiple affairs before this his co-host Amy with other women on the show.
Damn.
Yeah, I just feel so are we saying that workplace romances shouldn't exist? Because I feel we're adults. It's going to happen. When you work that much, think about it.
It's going to happen.
We're really at our jobs more than we are at home. COVID kind of changed the game with people working remotely. But at one point, we were all working a lot of hours at work with people, work husband. That term may come from nowhere. Work wife, work husband.
It happens more than we are aware of.
Yeah.
For sure. Because we do spend most of our lives at work.
Yeah, it's
pre-COVID.
It's gonna happen, but it's also pretty easy for it to just get messy when you work with somebody and you fucking that person also.
That's always been my concern or issue is I always had the philosophy to not date a woman who works in the same company I work for.
Yes.
Or date a woman who lives in the same complex.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No neighbors, man. No neighbors.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Yeah. So
sorry, Cass. I'm just
So someone on Twitter said, because it was blowing up and someone had a quote that said, imagine, 'cause in the photo, they was laughing like really hard, like, and they looked deeply in love. And someone said, imagine laughing this hard with someone and then having to go back home to an unhappy house. Right. And I'm not an advocate for cheating. Right.
Yeah.
But I can understand how people feel obligated to stay in an unhappy marriage, but still want that something else, that love, right?
It's hard to just be unhappy at home, and if you
and blow up everything, blow up your whole life.
Or maybe you are happy at home. I think it's possible to love multiple people at the same time.
Oh, that's a conversation.
I would agree, though.
I think it is.
I mean, I do
maybe
too.
You might be getting different things from different people.
Of course,
you know.
Yeah, I believe in that. I mean, but it's still, it gets a little messy if you ain't telling everybody what's going on. You know?
It's a disservice to the partner that is in the dark.
Yeah,
and is
just at home, just thinking you out there being faithful in the world.
Oh man, and they have kids too, so there's children involved.
Yeah, it would be hard.
I mean, and now your stuff is just all out there for the whole world, like, and they're dragging you right now.
Right. And that's unfair, especially.
That's hard,
but that's part of being like on TV, being part of the social media craze where your whole life is exposed as the simplest thing, the simplest mistake. Yeah, you know, and so so y'all have never had a work romance, never.
Strangely enough, I've been in like flirtations, but it's never gone anywhere. And not for lack of trying, it just never happened. You know, and I think for me to even really like fully go into something like that, I got to care more about the person than I do about the job, because I feel like if it doesn't work out with the person, something's got to give.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Well, let's hope these two love each other more than their jobs.
I mean, they lost their jobs.
I think they both have the job.
I mean, because
I shouldn't laugh. It's not funny.
It is, I mean, that's a good scandal, though. I mean, it happened.
It's juicy stuff.
Was the dick worth it? Was the wop worth it?
Is it worth your family home being like destroyed and upturned?
Yeah.
Is it worth all these other skeletons now coming out of your closet? Because look, if that affair had never been exposed, these other affairs that he'd been having with these other women, they likely would have never came to light.
Yeah. I think it's a bigger issue than the fact that he's black and she's white. What if it would have been two white people or two black people?
I think
people would probably care a lot less.
Yeah,
because on one hand, so is he married? His wife is black, right?
Yeah.
So essentially,
and her husband's white.
Yeah. So in the case of her, like, I think nobody really probably gives a fuck that much, but in the case of him, that's destroying the black family. You know what I mean? So
it's so funny because one of my girlfriends, she had mentioned how he's married to a black woman, and she had said, like, I don't want that to bother me, but it does. And so my response was, do you think the white husband feels any kind of way
about
being
upset.
Left for a black man?
Absolutely.
Like, we don't talk about that.
Absolutely.
That man
you
definitely.
Listen,
that man definitely asked that woman, "Is this dick bigger than mine?"
You know he was thinking it. He was thinking it. But I don't want to let it bother me.
Yeah.
But it stings a little bit. It stings a little bit. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think that's a little belief that black men are always choosing white women over black women the higher they move up, and so
despicable.
I don't think it's happening as much as people think it is. But
stop cheating with white women. If you go cheat with another black woman, all right?
And someone that looks
cheat with another person of color,
or at least another minority.
Stop leaving your black queens for white women. That's not okay.
It's not okay. cheat with the right race in the social construct of it all.
Social constructs. Let's do it.
Hey man, get into a method message.
All right.
All right. So on this week, man, we're talking about social constructs. that exists in the world. My first question to the table and to the method heads, when you hear the term social construct, what comes to mind? Like, what's the first thing you think about in general?
Well, when I first started like looking into this, I came across the term social constructionism. Have you heard that?
I saw that term as well when I was researching this, but
did not.
I had not known what it was until researching it.
So social constructionism, okay. Social constructionism is a theory that knowledge and many aspects of the world around us are not real in and of themselves. They only exist because we give them reality through social agreement. Things like nations, books, money, and all that human bullshit.
Yeah.
So when I think about what a social construct is, I think about just the things that like we kind of create to kind of make sense of our humanity or to structure our humanity. It's just a way for us to feel, I don't know, in control, I guess.
Our place,
Yeah. And some social constructs I think can be healthy and good for us, and some of them are really fucking weird and toxic and fucked up.
Cass, what's your first thought for social construct?
My first thought is, I guess, sort of a standard that we abide by without really giving much thought as to why we're doing it or how it started. We're just kind of jumping on the bandwagon because that's what everybody else has been doing.
It's been done. Yeah, I think about, for me, the first thought I think about, like, both of y'all are obviously 100% correct in those thoughts. My mind goes directly to like the type of like social construct. I think about like religion, where I'm like, okay, religion is something that has had a huge effect on my life in general.
Yeah.
Right? And so like, I think about that. And
I think Black folks in general, like religion is so much enveloped in just being Black. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But to your point, Remy, you said, you know, like social constructs are basically like things that we have to make sense of things, and we sometimes those things are healthy,
right?
And it's good to have them. But there are things that I definitely struggle with.
Yeah.
That I'm like, man, I wish we didn't have this particular construct.
Like what?
Like race. It'd be so dope if we could just throw race away.
Race is a social,
for real.
You know,
race is a social construct for sure. That like, because I think we can all agree that we're all human, right? But then someone came up with the idea that because you are a certain color and they're a certain color, that this is their racial identity, and we all just adopted it and ran with it. And I think it'd be definitely be less issues in the world if we did not have this social construct of race.
It's also a very like Western adopted thing. Because if you like, the first time I went to Canada, extremely diverse. You've got people from all over the world there, but they don't identify by race. They call themselves Canadians.
Yeah, we don't really do that in America.
We don't say American, or
well, we should.
You know, we say, oh, I'm Black. Oh, I'm white.
And part of that is
I'm a Black American.
Like Britain, they identify as British. They don't.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that too is because of the conflict of race. Given that like black Americans don't feel fully embraced by America, it's hard to just be like, I'm a proud American.
Right.
It ain't a whole lot of Black proud Americans. Like we still feel like y'all owe us shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's very true. Our nation, it has a history of
fucked up shit. Yeah.
Rape, torture.
Yeah. And none of it has been paid for. None of it has been like resolved.
Yeah, that's true.
Racism is definitely
that would be an interesting world, though. Could you imagine if we?
Oh, I'm human. What do you mean? I'm just human.
Just took race out of it.
Take race out of the equation. But I mean, can we do that in our own lives? I guess is the bigger question. Could we? I don't think we could. We all identify as what this construct is. Obviously, identity is also a social construct.
Yeah,
but we're so embedded with it now. Is it even possible to not have race as part of our lives?
I don't think so. Not in America. I think you'd have to create a new country. I think America, So I don't know anything about other countries and how like they handle a lot of that stuff. I think most other countries just kind of have a lot of the same types of people, and when they don't, they have like some of the same issues that we have or whatever. But America is like what they call like the world experiment of like diversity of so many different types of people just being here and just kind of trying to coexist or whatever. But there's still levels to, there's still levels, you know what I mean? Like even in white America, there's levels to what whiteness is. Like Irish were considered like lower class at one point just for being Irish. So you can't really throw it away unless America or like we as a society, because I think that's the root of what a social construct is what society has decided amongst all of us what is a social construct.
So money is a social construct.
Yeah.
Think about it. That money would have no value. There's basically paper and metal, right? That we society have deemed as its valuable asset.
Right.
But if we did away with this monetary system of the social construct, it would have no value.
Right.
Yeah.
We put the value onto this,
Yeah. But for the sake of trade, I mean, like the only way you can really get things that you don't have is if you trade for something else, and a barter system would be chaos. I mean,
it would be chaos, but that shit should work though.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you still got to be like, well, what is it worth? Oh, it's my 2 camels worth, 2 sheep or whatever the fuck it is. So we just put money on it. And that kind of makes it easier.
We're too dependent on production too.
Yeah, but it gets messy when you incorporate how wild capitalism is, because capitalism is all about money. It's all about just like how can we hoard and get as much money as possible out of this system and just squeeze it out, and it kind of it makes it more toxic than it has to be.
Yeah.
When's the last time y'all have bartered? Like bartered, people don't even think about that term anymore. But barter is like, look, like I will give you 4 sessions of life coaching if you do blah blah blah. Like, why don't we barter anymore?
Well, honestly, I barter constantly in my house.
Do you?
Yes. Like, okay, so if my girl does the dishes, or if my girl cooks or whatever, I'll do the dishes. That's a fair trade. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's things like that. Is
that bartering?
I think bartering? It is. I think it's a form of bartering. I mean, you don't necessarily talk about it. It's just kind of like implied or whatever.
Well, so bartering, if I were to define it, a service or good traded in exchange for another service
without using money. So I could give you some dick for
so we do
some canned goods. Look, I need some canned goods. I'm poor. I'm gonna give you some dick. That work. No, I'm gonna barter this dick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a service. You're right. It says exchange goods or services for other goods or services without using money.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but I like money. I feel like it's necessary. I just don't love capitalism, and capitalism is
I don't like not having money.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
I mean,
I like money too.
Yeah, we all like money and love having the value of that money.
And anybody who said money can't buy happiness is a damn lie.
What I do wish, as far as like American society, or even if there was like another country that could be formed that was more of like a utopia, I feel like there should be a foundation of like what everybody can have.
That's true, Shane.
Where everybody can have something that's livable. So, and then if you want extra stuff, you know what I mean, you can work for it or whatever. But nobody should just be falling below.
So like a level playing field.
Yeah.
You're talking about getting rid of classism.
Yeah.
Which is a social construct.
I mean, or at the very least, getting rid of just kind of taking whatever the lowest class is and putting everybody in the middle. You know what I mean? And whatever's beyond that, fine. If you like are rich or you're in a rich family or whatever, that's fine. But for people to just be struggling the way that they are,
whole life,
just terrible.
Like, it'd be
really
better.
Terrible.
There's too much. We have too much as human beings for people to have so little.
Yeah.
Shannon said women get away with bartering all the time.
Really, Shannon? Do tell.
Shannon is co-host of his, hers, and ours podcast. It will be on next week. Make sure you tune in. So one of the reasons I was thinking about this topic, and I was telling Casamigos this yesterday, was in the dating world, there's this idea that a woman's value is more important than a man's value when it comes to certain expectations. Like the presence of a woman is more than a man. So with that comes the expectations that a man is supposed to do these things, right? A man is supposed to chase. A man is supposed to pursue. But if we take away the social construct that of this dating expectations at the foundation of it all, we are both on the same page. We're both equal. There's man and woman. Wouldn't it be better if the two individuals, instead of focusing on this social construct of who pursues who, they pursue each other equally? Why does it have to be, this is the expectation that a man does? Not saying I don't do it.
Yeah.
It just got me to thinking. I'm like, man, there's so much bullshit that happens around these expectations in the dating world today that people are struggling to find love because of this construct that exists. And I just thought, okay, what else exists? Let's talk about it. You know, so like thinking about like the dating expectations, are there any social constructs in dating or in relationships that you feel like, okay, this is a social construct, but I actually fuck with it, or I'm okay with it? And there's nothing wrong if you do agree with it.
Right.
It's just a conversation in general.
I think for me, as far as like my experience, it depends on how good you get at it. Like if you get good at dating, or if you're pursuing somebody, or you're in a relationship and you're making your partner happy, I think it becomes okay for you. You know what I mean? Like the value, the idea of chasing women is kind of fun. You know what I mean? Especially when it might not be for you, I think, because you kind of just been in that game for so long. Maybe it's gotten old, but to a degree, it can be fun. You know what I mean? Like dating can be fun, especially when you find somebody and it kind of starts to work and you kind of start working in that space. Things start to click. You know, there's elements of it that can be fun. That's all I'm saying. What you think?
So I definitely enjoy some of the social constructs when it comes to dating. I do enjoy being pursued in the beginning. I enjoy when somebody affirms their interest in me and pursues me. I will reciprocate, but I don't necessarily want to be the one to initiate. And it wasn't always that way with me. It became that way with me recently because I just was noticing when I got back out into the dating world that men just seemed lazy. It seemed like I was having to put in all this work, and I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? Like, you're the man. I need you to like do a little something. And that's a social construct.
It is.
But it is one I agree with.
Yeah.
It is one I agree with.
And part of that too, I think, is because a lot of dudes feel like they figured out the cheat codes that were working for a little while, like sending the good morning text and shit like that, and the what you doing or whatever.
Yes,
like
the
that shit
thinking
works.
of you.
Yeah.
So like I don't mind like the social construct of the man pursuing. I am a pursuer, right? And the reason I say I disagree with the chase being fun. I think the chase is fun when you're just trying to fuck. If you just want some pussy, or I'm chasing that. I'm gonna keep chasing it. Eventually, I'm gonna get that.
Right.
Like I get that chase. But when you are genuinely pursuing someone, at some point you want that pursuit to be reciprocated.
Right? Yes.
Because you are invested. You're invested financially. You're invested emotionally. You're invested with your time. You know. And so for me, when I say I don't like the chase. The chase is not fun. But I'm not in a place of chase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's fun to an extent.
Yeah. To an extent, you know. So
fun to an extent.
So that's definitely I think some other social constructs when it comes to or relationship. Or you got some?
I do have some, yeah. So one of mine that's relationship related is the idea or pressure we have as a society to commit to one person, or this whole idea behind monogamy. I'm a monogamous. I've always been a monogamous person, but I'm not tied to monogamy. I don't think it's wrong for people to
have a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah, like sometimes to me it seems unnatural, the idea of monogamy.
I agree.
100%.
because
agree
we're
100%.
people. How can we sit here and say I'm going to love and be
Just this
attracted to
person.
this one person for the rest of my life? That's
Yes.
a very odd concept to me.
It's not really a natural
It's
thing
not
at all. It's something we
natural.
just decided.
Which
at
most
one point.
people struggle with.
But
in
we
general.
live in this society where there's like pressure, right? To get
Mhm.
married, to settle
Mhm.
down, to be with this
Mhm.
one person. Well, why?
Yep. Why?
Like, says who? Why do we have to just be with one person? Why can't we enjoy multiple people whenever we want?
No, I agree. I agree 100%. Like,
And I'm not
agree as well.
knocking people who are in monogamous relationships. Like I've been in a lot of successful ones. It's just sometimes I just wonder about that, you know, like.
So I can think of a couple of reasons. One, I feel like things get muddy when people like have children and there's more than just like two parents, I guess. And then the other part of it is if polyamory ruled, the only men who would have women are the alphas. Because they would have all the women, just like lion. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like how lions
Well,
are.
well, you know, polygamy is different from polyamory.
Right. But
'Cause
I
there-
did not know that. Can you
yes,
explain the
it's
difference?
different. So polygamy
Okay.
is basically a man being
Mhm.
married to multiple women.
Just a man. It can never be a woman.
Typically, it's just a man.
Just a man. Okay.
Polyamory or polyamorous relationships could be, for example, let's say it's you
Okay.
and you and I are dating, but I only give you the emotional connection. So you have another man who gives you the physical connection.
Okay.
Or you have another man who you have good chemistry, you hang out with.
Okay.
So it could be a woman in the position of having multiple people who gives her the different needs that she wants.
And then do you in turn also have people in your life?
It depends on the nature of the rules of your relationship.
yeah,
What you
it's
agree
complicated.
to. You know, like I personally would like to start off in monogamy,
Mhm.
but I'm open to the idea of me and my woman creating a space that exists for both of us that we both want. And if it comes to a polyamorous type,
Yeah.
then I'm open to that with the understanding of, okay, this is what we are going to create for ourselves because we have a solid foundation,
Mhm.
right? And I always say, like, I'm not against my woman wanting to sleep with somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna want to sleep with somebody else. But what's the understanding behind it?
What are
You know
the
what I mean?
rules?
What are the
Right.
rules behind it?
Yeah.
You know?
I like that. Okay.
But society has this negative expectation.
Anytime
about it,
people
you know?
talk about poly, I feel like it's often frowned upon.
It's changing a little bit though. It's changing some things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's becoming a little bit more normalized, but it's
Yeah.
still not. Is polyamory technically? I mean, not necessarily legal as far as marriage.
It's
is
not
concerned.
legal as far as marriage.
No.
Yeah, as far as marriage
So
is
two
concerned.
people can be married.
Mhm.
So like you
Mhm.
could be married to me, but then we could both have our own separate relationships.
Correct. Well, I mean, that ties more into like an open relationship. So,
Okay.
but typically in polyamory,
Everybody loves everybody.
everyone loves everybody. Everyone's aware of one another. You spend a lot of time together. Doesn't mean you're all fucking. That's not like
There
what
was a
it
show
is,
I was
but-
watching that was I forget what
Yeah.
it's called Poly Love or something.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what is there anything? Hold on, what question I want to ask y'all? What's a social construct that you struggle in breaking away from? What's a social construct that you struggle in breaking away from that you may feel like you want to break away from? Or maybe it's like you see a shift happening in the world and it's like, okay, I ain't fucking with it yet. So I'll go first. Like, for example, there are a lot of people who are dating trans men and trans women, right? It's becoming more culturally acceptable to do that. And I fuck with it. I'm glad. I want people to find love.
Right.
For me personally, I still struggle with the idea of dating someone who was born a male but looks completely like a woman.
Right.
And maybe they had surgery already, don't even have a dick anymore.
Right.
But I struggle with it. But I want to break away from it. I know that it's only going to change and evolve so that more people feel loved and accepted. I want to be part of it. I want to be part of like the acceptance of it.
Right.
Like I accept it, but I struggle with it still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know for me, and just in regards to that, the thing that I'm attracted to most is femininity.
Yes.
And I feel like it's difficult for a trans woman to exhibit as much femininity as I am used to getting from a natural woman. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, not to, this is going to sound controversial, but it's kind of like they're putting on a show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you might feel like a woman, but there's things that are just different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I know, not that I know women, but I appreciate and value that energy that I receive from women. So when if I'm interacting with somebody who's trans, there's always going to be something missing. Not to mention there's a dick there. Sometimes there's still a dick.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I just don't rock with that.
Absolutely.
Like that's a minimum. You can't have a dick if you're gonna be a trans woman and fuck with me.
I agree with
that. There's only one dick in this
agree.
situation.
I've never thought about the idea of dating a trans person.
Yeah, you probably don't have any interest, right? Like you just like men.
Well, I like women too.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, this is gonna sound
it's hard. But it's a conversation. It's a conversation.
So terrible.
Go ahead.
So I like men and I like women. I'm very much attracted to the biological essence of man, just like I'm very attracted to the biological essence of a woman.
100%.
I've never, not that I know of, I've never met a trans that I've been attracted to.
Right.
Not that I'm aware of.
But there are a lot
I'm
of
sure this person exists. I'm absolutely sure. I just have not met that person. I feel, what I love about, there are definitely certain traits I love about women. I love that femininity. I love the softness, the soft curves, soft skin, the long hair. And then with men, I like the harder bodies. I like the opposites of both.
Yeah.
So.
Nah, I get it. No, I mean.
So I don't know. It's just never crossed my mind. I've never sat there and been like, would I date a trans person? I just don't know.
So that's my example. That's something that I'm not comfortable yet with changing that social construct. It doesn't have to be like that related. It could be anything.
Honestly, I don't like the social construct of just having to work.
Oh, that is the truth. Or pay taxes.
Yeah, like
I would really just like to stop paying taxes.
I wish I wish working was more of like just an option than just an obligation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
then to survive.
Yeah, because then you could just focus.
You can live your life. You can enjoy your life.
Yeah, I feel like I can't really focus on like passions or anything like that because I have to make sure that I make a paycheck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one thing for me.
I mean, it'd be nice to have a 4-day work week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's beautiful that things that it took a fucking pandemic to kind of open up the idea of work from home. But there's so many things that we could do in that world of work to kind of make it more giving for people and not be so terrible. And nobody's trying to really even do that because capitalism.
It shouldn't have taken COVID-19 to create a more work remotely situation.
Yeah.
Like people should not have had to have died by the millions across the world in order to create the atmosphere of, oh, you know what? It's okay for you to work from home.
Yeah. But I feel like it's changing back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I feel like we were in this really great space and businesses and corporations were like, oh no, they're fucking enjoying their lives too much. We need to get them fucking back in the office.
Right.
And make them miserable again.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, America is always going to be a majority capitalist country.
Yeah, see, just a 5-day work week. I agree. Yeah. Why? Why do we do it?
Because that's what we've been taught. That's what. And the only way to not go back to that is to either have a really great negotiating powers in the job you apply for, or to have your own business.
Right.
What other options are there? Because most jobs are going to expect a 5-day work week.
Facts.
Unless you negotiate it in. And who says you can't? But I think that depends on how high up you go. I think the higher up you go in the workplace, the more power you have, versus someone who's starting off at a lower level. We can't go at a lower level and say, I want to work 4 days. No, motherfucker, you're going to work 5 days, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Gender related roles, or so like social construct of gender roles, right? So like the role, the expectation that a woman has to cook or do laundry, right?
So one that I see a lot with women I know that have children. So the dynamics at home have changed when it comes to families, right? So years ago, women were not expected to work. Their job was to be caregivers for kids, keep the house clean.
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. Husbands got up every morning, went off to work, paid the bills. Women are now working just as much as men, 100%. If not more in some cases.
Absolutely.
But they're still having babies, right? Families are still being created. And what I'm seeing a lot is households where both parents are working now, but the responsibility still lies majority with the woman when it comes to child rearing. The woman does the calendar. The woman does the school lunches. The woman ensures that the kids get to practice. The woman's going to PTA meetings.
Yeah.
I don't hear a lot about
the men
dads doing those like mundane things.
When the last time you heard a dad say, "Oh yeah, I can't make it to that event because I got to take care of the kids."
Right.
Or when was the last time y'all seen a dad like go school clothes shopping?
Yeah.
For their kid.
Yeah.
No, I agree, and that's something that I think definitely needs to change. It has to evolve. Like I am really not a.
But it's like the norm.
It is a norm, but for me, I'm actually not the person. Like I am very much non-traditional.
Yeah.
In general, because I do truly believe in a partnership in my relationship. So I'm not against changing the roles. Because what woman wants to do all that? That's a lie. No one wants to do that.
They're doing it, but they don't.
Yeah, and if you love your woman, hopefully you like changing it up to make it work.
Like that would just be so exhausting to me. If I had
100%
kids and I have a partner, we're both working, we're both having long days, long weeks, but I've got to do bath time every night.
Right.
That's some bullshit.
It does.
And I feel like that happens a lot.
It does. Yeah, it's very common.
Does it matter who makes the most money? Who determine who does those?
I feel like that's a fair thing to throw on the table. If she makes more money, then he should definitely step up more for sure. You know,
or if one works from home and one works in an office.
If you have more time, then I mean, at the end of the day, you know, between two people, you should be doing whatever you can to kind of just make it work.
Yeah,
I know the idea is that most of the expectation is generally on the woman because society and social construct is automatically going to look at the woman and think about her being a bad mom more so than they'll think about him being a bad father for not doing these things. Yeah.
That's very true. I think that's very strange.
I don't agree with it. I don't agree. I wouldn't do that.
So here's me being the asshole in the situation. Because in my mind, like I don't really want kids that much. So I feel like if I did have children,
nah, you can't put that. You wanted them fucking kids.
I'm be like, them your kids, baby. Them your kids. All right, I don't know.
Like, I didn't even want those kids.
I didn't want them fucking kids. Come on, girl. You make their lunches. I
can't with you.
I don't know. I'm just.
You are lying.
That's why I ain't got no kids. That's why I ain't got no kids. Because I mean, I don't think it would be fair. I think I would try my best to make it fair in my household, but I don't think it would naturally be fair. And I don't know if I would be fully capable of stepping up the way that I feel like, most men should in that situation, except under circumstances where if she's making more money, I think I would definitely feel obligated. But outside of that,
honest of you, Remy.
Yeah.
But
it's also,
but he's being honest about it.
And it's also based on the examples that, were in my household. In my household, my stepmother and my father more or less made about the same amount of money, but she handled everything. But at the same time, me being the oldest, I was pulled to step up and take care of a lot of the household things or whatever. So she had help, but still at the end of the day, she was the homemaker. You know what I mean? She was the one that made sure that everybody was fed and taken care of, and he mostly just focused on work. So I'm not a fan of
of those gender roles. And I think we should all work to break those gender roles, because if you're better at one thing, then you should do those things. And I think the flip side of that is, like, I think there's a lot of men out there who don't want to be the fucking breadwinner all the time. Like, you know what it's like? There's a lot of fucking pressure to make good money, to provide. Yeah. And this social construct, that is what the man's role is. That's the man's job. True. And it's okay if the woman is the breadwinner, but you can't be lazy. You can't be like you can't be sitting around gaming all day long.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like what are you doing? Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
But yeah, that's
always something to do around the house.
So that I think is the other side of it, because there's still a bit of an expectation for with the idea that a man should handle everything or the majority of everything on a financial level. You know, even though women have their own money now, there's still the idea that he should be able to take care of, most everything. And it's just ingrained into especially with, Black people. Like, I think white people are more evolved in that than we are.
For sure. I would agree.
Just roles. I hate to admit it.
Yeah. I would agree. I agree. I do agree with that. And it's sad that that's the case.
I do agree.
We have to do better with people of color.
We are our own worst enemies sometimes. I tell you. Yeah,
there's a lot of. What other notes y'all got in there?
I have another one that's family related.
Okay.
That I think y'all will find interesting. And it has to do with aging out of home or leaving home at 18. So I feel like, when I worked in Memphis, and I was living in Memphis, my boss, she was Korean. And it was a very odd idea for her that American children were kind of pushed out of the house at 18. She was my boss at the time. She was in her early 30s. And her older sister were still living in their parents' home. And it wasn't only because of just the familial closeness and bond that you'll see in a lot of Asian families and cultures, but it was to fully prepare them to be secure once they left the house. So when I was working under her when she did finally move out. And she was prepared to buy a house. She bought a house. She was ready. And it just got me to thinking, as we were talking about the whole idea of social constructs. And I was like, God, I couldn't wait to leave home at 18. So I don't know if that's just a very Western idea but why do I hear parents talk about it a lot. When they're 18, they're gone. I mean, my own siblings have said it about their kids, 18?
Because having kids is fucking expensive and draining.
And kids are ungrateful as fuck. Like they be in there just eating up all the food and not giving a fuck about nothing that you care about. And you be like, all right, well, it's time for you to go as soon as you get a chance.
But do you
but you're right.
That's the nature of it.
We potentially are hurting
for sure,
these future generations by just shoving them out the door at 18? Yes, they're legally an adult, but are they really actually prepared for the world? And why do we do it?
You know who kind of gets that right? I think immigrants handle that way better than, especially like Black immigrants.
Like Asians?
Yeah, they handle that better. They're more about we're gonna make sure you're set up if you go out
for
there.
Success. I definitely think we push our kids out the door sooner than they should because they're not ready. Who's ready at 18 and 19? No one's ready.
I wasn't.
But I wasn't. I was just, for me, I was unhappy under my mom's rule.
Okay.
Yeah. Right? I was like, I'm a fucking man. You ain't gonna tell me what to do. I don't want to go to church, whatever. So I ended up moving, right? And I struggled, but I was happier. But I think when you grow up poor in poverty, the goal is to try your best to not be a burden to your mother or to your father. And you being there sometimes can feel like a burden. It's like, I got to get my own because of whatever reasons. So I do think that we do it, push our kids out too soon though, and that we should do a better job. But part of that is a social construct of age. Adulthood is a social construct.
Yeah, 18.
Because some countries, adult is 16.
Right.
And so it's like,
I was not an adult 18.
No. So really, maybe adulthood should be 21.
It should be.
You know what I mean? Like what? Maybe. But again, that's back to a social construct because there's some kids that are 16 that's super mature who could do better than a 19-year-old or 20-year-old based on the teachings or whatnot. But
Yeah.
adulthood is a social construct that we've adopted, and 18 is the rule that we say,
Which
either you're gonna pay for your rent, or you're gonna get about this house.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
there's really not even a number on adulthood. The real
That's true.
people become adults when they can work a job and pay for their own living. Until you can do that, you're not an adult. And I remember having this conversation with my father because I turned 18, and I was like, I'm grown now, and I was working or whatever, but I wasn't working to the point where I could pay for all of my shit.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Oh, you grown?" Like that was his favorite thing to say to me. "Oh, you grown now, so you should be doing this. You should be doing that." And he basically once I kind of opened that door, he was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna treat you like you're grown. I'm gonna show you what it's like to be in the real world as a grown person. So you're gonna have to either pay rent or go to school or do this or do that or make sure you're doing things that a grown person is gonna do if you're gonna sit here and tell me you grown."
Right. I agree with that. Oh, Selena's kids are at home with
Hey.
I'd be curious to know their age. I don't know if she's
So
willing to share that.
When I think about this adult stuff, I always think about the Cosby Show. And I know it's like taboo talking about Bill Cosby, but I remember the Theo.
Cosby Show is a classic.
Do y'all remember that? Yes. Do y'all remember the episode with Theo when Theo was trying to move out and be grown? And Bill Cosby was like, "Okay, I'm gonna show you if you think he grown."
Yeah.
How much? Well, this how much? Well, okay. I still got $200 left. Well, you still got to pay for gas, grocery. And Theo at the end of the day was like,
yeah, he gave him a simulation of what it's like to be in the real world, and and he learned real quick.
I just think about how many more benefits there could be.
What?
We just got like a little bump of like people that popped in. I think
29 and 27.
We in the middle of the message right now. Thanks for popping in.
I like that.
Oh,
That's how old her kids are, and they're still at home. I like that because for me, I would. And again, I'm not a parent, but I would be thinking about like generational wealth and just really ensuring that my kids
are set up.
Yeah.
So my mentality,
and I think our generation is much better about
like,
that.
You know what? Stay here, be responsible, right? Like you can't just sit around at home.
Yeah.
But I want you to save. I want you to save as much as you can.
Yeah.
Work hard. Get a good handle on like bills that are your own, like car insurance, phone, credit card, whatever else. But just save. Yeah. And then when you're ready, when you feel like, all right, you know what, Mom, I'm set up.
Yeah, and I think social constructs should evolve, right? If we're going to keep the social constructs, then we should evolve those, right? And I think if you look at like with the cost of living these days and the price of inflation, kids, almost teenagers, young adults, really can't afford to go and get their own apartment.
It's crazy,
And so. Like my sister has 4 boys and they all still live at home. They're all working, but if one wanted to go out by himself, he couldn't afford an apartment by himself, right? And so I think the concept of staying home and until you're ready to move out should not always be seen as a negative. And I also feel like, having roommates should be something that should not always be a negative this day and age, right? This is social construct of pressure, especially for men, that if you don't have your own place, that you're not a man. That's like I'm working 40 hours a week. I'm doing all this shit, but it costs $1,500 for a $500 apartment. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that hurts. I think that's a social construct that we struggle with as a society. I
agree.
Rim, you got anything else over there? For social construction. What is it? Social constructionism.
So did you know that time was a social construct?
Yes, I know that.
So time has been collectively determined. While the passing of time exists, humans determine ways to track and keep time. They have constructed the method for basing daily life, work, sleep, school around their concept of time. So and then I thought about this once before, because the idea, like, when I think about time, because I read something recently that kind of looked at the idea of time, and time actually kind of doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
It doesn't really exist. It's more just that like everything is just kind of evolving and growing and moving.
Everything's just moving. Yeah.
And we need some kind of way to measure it because we got to go to work on Monday. You know what I'm saying? We got things to do, and the only way we're gonna be able to do those things is if we put them on a fucking calendar, or it's just gonna be chaos. So it's something we constructed to sort of work around.
I mean, the time changes are part of the social construct of trying to stay on track with time.
Could you imagine being able to operate just on your own?
Just
by your body, like for example,
I mean, like animals do. Animals ain't got no concept.
I guess it's 4 o'clock today right now. It's 4 o'clock.
One thing that I've really taken to enjoying since working from home, I like to have an afternoon nap.
Yeah,
I'm so Mexican. I like to have a siesta, literally around 2
siesta.
o'clock.
Yeah,
I like to take a break if I can, schedule permitting, and lay down for like an hour. And I get up and I'm so refreshed. I'm like ready to just keep going.
Right.
Back when I was in an office Monday through Friday, there was no way. And I dragged. But could you imagine if we could all operate just on what our body is telling us?
Like, if the job said, I need you to work a 8-hour work day. You can start whenever you want and end whenever you want. That would be amazing.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah. And that goes back to just capitalism. Capitalism is what developed the whole 9-to-5 thing because everything is kind of just grinding during that time. But on the other hand, there's a convenience to it. Because imagine if like banks didn't have hours or some shit like that. Like it's just like we just gonna be open whenever we open. Good luck.
Yeah,
good luck catching us.
It's true.
You know what I mean? You kind of need that reliability for society to function as efficiently as it does.
Just want to shout out DJ Panel Vibe for bringing some of his followers over. That's why the bump happened.
Thanks for popping in,
we
sir.
appreciate that, man. If y'all do not know, go follow DJ Panel Vibe. He was actually the DJ at the Method Podcast live event. He did a damn thing over there. Make sure you follow him and show him some love over on his channel, Method Heads. Is social constructs taught, learned, or both? Is social constructs taught, learned, or both?
I mean, it's kind of just ingrained to like school and stuff like that. Like we're all adapted to certain expectations, and then I think you get a lot of it from your parents. Like obviously, if we see what a marriage looks like or a relationship looks like or roles, like I said, my part of how I function naturally in my relationship is based on what I saw from my parents. So it's definitely learned for me, and the idea of like trying to challenge that or do something different just it feels like I'd be trying to it's like starting a revolution. I'd have to be president. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a dude.
I feel like it's both. I think it's both because
of course
there are some things that we have adopted that we did not learn from our parents, or we saw it on TV, or we saw our friends doing it, and we were like, oh, I'm gonna adopt that. So we saw it, we learned it, but a lot of shit is taught to us as well. And so it's definitely, in my opinion, both. And it's hard to unlearn some of that stuff, especially if you've been ingrained since childhood or whatnot. It's like, okay, how do I break away from this? A lot of people don't actually do the work of like self-reflection to understand, is this who I really am internally? And breaking it all down, saying, you know what, do I really want to be this? I was watching a TikTok video and there was this white guy on there. He was talking about how like he's dating a person who is non-binary, and he was like, you know, this is country redneck boy guy, and you would not ever think that he would be the one, but he was just saying like years ago I struggled with the understanding of this situation, but because I had to unlearn it, so I started reading stuff and learning stuff to educate myself to become better understanding of the situation. And I don't think a lot of people actually do that in their own lives. It's like here's what it is. Here's what my grandma told me, or this is what I believe, and I'm not gonna move off of that mountaintop. Right. That's what it is. And fuck those who don't want to believe in it. You know. So
I think sometimes though it can be very scary. Like
for sure.
Breaking away from certain social constructs can be a very lonely journey because
for sure
you'll likely be labeled different or odd or weird or against the grain, you know, and that's That's hard. I don't know anybody that. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is I don't know anyone that is always comfortable with that. You know, like full.
Yeah.
I think plenty of people do it and they're proud to do it, but I don't know anybody that just like walks into it just like, oh yes, I'm going in.
Yeah.
If you haven't
It's
been
hard.
like socialized or you haven't experienced it, then it's brand new territory.
Yeah.
I definitely lost. And I say this knowing that were they really friends in the first place? So I say all that to say I lost a lot of people who I considered friends when I left religion. Or I lost a lot of friends when I told them that I had gay friends. I was okay with having gay friends. And they questioned my sexuality because I had gay friends. And it's just like, well, are you really my friend anyway? Like, if you don't really fuck with me because of this. But I say that in hindsight now, right?
But at the time,
it's hard.
Yeah.
And like, I struggle with like losing those friendships.
Yeah.
Y'all know me. Like, my people are important. My friends are important to me. And if you don't want to be a part of my life, it's like, well, damn, like, what did I do? What did I do wrong?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So.
I think social constructs in general, I think a good like metaphor for how that functions is kind of like the movie The Matrix. How like everybody's kind of just in whatever pocket of whatever our development is.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get to a place where you're like, well, there's probably something outside of this. There seems like there's something out of that outside of this, and it's probably better. It's probably more enlightening. And then when you do get out, there's still people in there, and you can't necessarily, you want those people to still be a part of your life, but you can't bring them along with you if they're not ready to get out.
You're different now too.
Yeah,
you're not the same person.
Evolve.
Yeah,
I'm Neo.
I consider myself
Morpheus.
I consider myself a pretty highly evolved person, but I do also feel like there's probably more evolution that I could have. Yeah. And then that makes me think about the idea of like, well, is sexuality a social construct? Because we like to think about the idea of
it is.
We think about the idea of I know for sure at the very least it's a spectrum. And I feel like most people kind of fall somewhere on the spectrum of like either homosexual, heterosexual, and then you just kind of somewhere in between.
There's a whole bunch in between.
Yeah. But
sexuality is not a straight line. That's for both men and women.
So then there's the idea of like, okay, homosexuals, is that something that they're born with, or is that something that they just have learned somewhere or have been allowed to do? And is it possible for any given human being to potentially be anywhere on the sexual spectrum if they chose, or if they were allowed that?
That's a valid question. That's a valid question. That's a valid question. Now, and I always say like society has allowed the social constructionism for women to have a very fluid sexuality, right?
Yeah. Yes. But we love that shit.
Right? But if you think about it, the moment
I love it.
The moment a man like I know women who are literally bisexual or have been bisexual in the past, kissed a woman, whatever, are only dating men now, will not date a man who can admit that he kissed another man years ago. Something's wrong with that man now. And it's just like, well, you did the exact same thing.
Right. Yeah.
And so sexuality is not a straight, for some people it is very straight, and that's fine. But I do think there's not a lot of wiggle room for that conversation.
So you know what I think about when I think about that, I think most men, especially heterosexual, are attracted to femininity,
for sure,
and then women are attracted to masculinity. When a man entertains another man, there's something that taints his masculinity, I guess. Like we don't look at him as fully as masculine anymore. Whereas when a woman does stuff with another woman, her femininity is untouched. If anything, she probably seems more. The only thing that makes her less feminine is if she's like a butch lesbian, but that's more in how she presents herself, not the choices, not the sexual choices that she makes. So
that makes sense to me.
That's one way to look at it.
That makes sense to me.
But how we identify that is a social construct as well.
For sure.
Kids have no dress a certain way.
Right.
Fingernail polish. Remember we talked about fingernail polish. Like fingernail polish, you see a lot of people will see a man who has black fingernail polish and they say, oh, something wrong. He must be gay. No, he ain't. Right. Who said it's a social construct to believe that We have to do that.
The whole concept of like a man purse or a fanny pack. Like I can't even have a bag. I can't just have a bag and still be a dude.
You're like, I want to carry my shit around too.
Like I want to carry my
So I remember.
I got lip glosses and stuff.
I remember watching my nephew grow up. He had 2 older sisters and single parent home. So he was around women. And as a little kid, he played with his big sisters a lot. And he was very close to his mom. So he used to put on their shoes. And there was one day he got into my sister's closet, and I'm talking, he's like 3 years old, and he got her high heels, and he was walking around him. I thought it was the cutest thing. And I remember my sister got like upset by it. She was just like, take those things off of him. And I'm like,
they were the trigger.
He
doesn't know the difference.
He's 3. Like, it was not a big deal in my mind, but for her, it was just like, no.
She was triggered by it because of the construct she believed, and she immediately calls a trigger. He does it unconsciously. Now he's like, oh, something's wrong with this.
Yeah,
you know.
I think that's like a kind of a motherly instinct, because I think what people automatically associate, especially with like a gay male or whatever, is that he's gonna have a harder life. You know what I mean? So like. In kind of like a naturally protective sense, it's like that. I'm not going to allow you to explore that side of yourself, because I don't want you to out here, being judged for that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
But it's rough, because then if you are, if you're put in that bubble, then and you kind of feel like, well, why not though? I kind of like this feels more like me, you know what I mean? So then you have to be in that bubble until you finally find a room to explore that. So that's why coming out and all of that is such a wild thing.
It's
a challenge. All right, I don't have anything else. Y'all have anything else you want to bring up? It's okay if you do.
Go ahead, Remy.
We got a little bit bigger room here.
So we talked about sexuality, but we do have to talk about gender. I think gender is the most controversial idea that kind of revolves around whether it could be a social construct or not, because I think there's elements of it that can be a social construct, but there's still some nature in there that we like to ignore. Natural born men and women is something that is probably never going to go away unless we change something about like how we're born or whatever.
Weird.
But typically, I mean,
so biologically, there's no question about that.
Right.
You're just saying like gender identity.
Like how much of a social construct can gender be? I think it's because it's being more perceived as a social construct now because of like the whole trans thing. You know what I mean? Like if somebody feels like, well, I was born as a man, but in my mind I still feel like what I feel like. And that can't be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, so I guess the way to look at it is physically there's no denying it, but emotionally and mentally you can still feel like the opposite gender, and it's common now.
Well, you hear stories about, like, I don't know if you guys ever watched any like documentaries surrounding it, where people will say like, I feel disgusted that I have a penis. I feel like a woman, or I hated my breasts. I would take them down because they didn't feel like me, which I just always find so fascinating. I can't imagine feeling so out of place in the body.
It's got to be rough.
Just biologically given.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Hard.
Like that's some serious stuff.
Yeah, the closest I get to that is like, man, I wish I was a little taller. But I'm not like, damn, I wish I didn't have this dick.
Butt. That's about as close as
yeah. But it's not like I want to be an entirely different gender.
But I've always, I've never felt like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to ask the question: is the mind of who we are a social construct? Because we don't know what the mind is, like how we feel in our mind. No one can measure that. You can't measure it. You can't see it. You can't. Only person that can feel it is the person who's in the body, right? And so I personally don't even think about, like, I don't even debate that. If someone says that this is how they feel, then I just acknowledge that it's not my responsibility to tell them how they should feel inside, you know? Right. But biologically, this is what your body says you are. But, you know, it's possible if you believe in the soul entering the body, that maybe your soul did not match up with the vessel you entered in this lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, maybe, and who knows how it develops? Maybe you do enter as a certain way, and then as you grow, you emotionally go in a different direction.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know. Like I've
that's
never
interesting. I don't know if gender is a social construct. I don't know.
So the idea of a social construct is that it's created by society. Society has decided that we are one thing or another, but there's still nature to consider. Nature is still binary. Nature is typically I mean, there's cases, there's instances or whatever, but the norm is usually that the nature is binary. So then it becomes, well, what are we going to accept from you? And we're trying to accept, you know, reluctantly that you can be a natural born woman, but decide that you're a woman. And all the surgeries that we can do now, we can do whatever we want to people now to let them be whatever.
Really, you almost don't have to do that much surgery. If you just take testosterone or certain hormones, people can actually change. The difference between a man and a woman is a very small amount of percentage of DNA that makes us different.
But one thing that's undeniable is that dick or that pussy. You gotta flip it.
I agree.
You gotta flip it.
I agree.
That's a hard choice to make.
You know what a clit is, right?
Yeah.
You know what a clit is?
Basically a tiny dick.
It's a tiny dick.
Tiny dick.
It's a tiny dick that's undeveloped.
It's a micro penis.
It's a micro
It's
penis.
a micro penis. Change your whole perspective. I am no longer eating pussy.
It's like a 3 centimeter penis.
When your tongue be doing that,
It's like, oh,
it's a micro penis.
I am licking a micro penis.
Yeah, if you can stick, like, for me, I guess if I can stick it all the way in my mouth, I'm probably gonna
Oh,
it's a little too big for me.
No, thank you.
there are some fat clits
Like,
out
if
there.
it can touch
boy.
the
I'm
back of
just
my
saying,
throat.
there's some fat clits out there.
Lord
Let me
Jesus.
just tell you,
Lord Jesus.
that is not a social construct. You a fat ass clit. All right, man.
I do have another question.
All right, one more.
What is the difference between social construct and culture?
What is the difference between social construct and culture? I mean, culture is definitely created too, right? But we have, I mean, I think when you think about Black culture, I think there are some things that are just ingrained in us, but that doesn't mean that a white person could not develop Black culture, right? And so,
but they could never be Black at the end of the day.
But Black is a social construct.
There's still some nature in that as well, though. You know what I mean? Like the nature of it is just that. I mean, it's like skin tone. There's elements that make it natural.
But we said earlier that we're all human, right? But when we see one another, we see color, and we've decided that person is Black instead of saying that person is human.
Well,
you know.
Well, so I think the big thing to consider here when it comes to social constructs is physical nature versus like what we decide or what we accept in society. And there's physical things that we have as Black people. Usually it's like skin tone, our facial features are different or whatever. And sometimes you just look one way or another. Like some people can, I don't necessarily see it, but some people can see the Black features in my face.
I can.
So that is what it is. But at the same time, I, as a mulatto person, I could kind of choose one or the other. You know what I mean? I could choose to identify as a white man, or I could choose to identify as a Black person. I picked mulatto because that's all of it that encompasses what I feel like is all of me.
I don't see a white man in you at all when I look at you.
But at the same time, I think I embrace Black culture much more than I do like anything outside of that. Because to me, that makes more sense. Like, I don't know what white culture is. And I guess when I think about white culture, I think about I think about like American. To me, white culture is just American culture. But when I think about Black culture, I can see that. I can see what like hip hop and things like that. Like, it's visible to me.
But someone had to decide to create that. If you think about like Hispanic culture, right? You think about salsa music. Someone decided they created the salsa dance, and that became the dance.
And multiple people of that culture embraced it and then evolved.
Yeah, I would say there are varied social constructs within each culture.
Yeah, and some of it is just in who we are for sure. You know, like so. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Something to
I don't
think
know
about.
what the answers to it. Something to think about for
Something
sure.
to think about.
All right, Motherheads. That is our conversation on social constructs
Hope y'all enjoy
in
that.
the world. If you have any that you want to have discussed or talked about, let us know. Slide in the DM, answer the question on Spotify. There's always a question on Spotify. But also remember, like the posts, like the Facebook, like Spotify, whatever you listen to with Method Podcast, we need you to subscribe or whatever it is to get notifications for the podcast. It is time for us to move into what we like to call Method Lessons.
Reading is fundamental. Now let's get on with this school thing. You teach.
So this is a segment where we talk about some shit that we learned recently, probably within like the last 7 days or however long it's been or whatever, you learn within a recent time period that, you'd like to share. So I learned, and shout out to Celine in the comments. She's the one that taught me this.
Okay.
She told me that older women squirt more than younger women.
Whoa.
Due to your bladder loosening as you age. And also, and this is controversial, and this is not necessarily my opinion. I don't know one way or another, but as far as I know,
Somebody made a comment. I need you to go to the comment.
Squirt is pee, apparently. That's just
Squirt is pee. It just is what it is. It's pee. I'm telling y'all, it's pee. Ain't no man gonna stop though. Even if it is pee. We still gonna let it all over the beer.
I take a mouthful. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, say that again. You take a mouthful? I take a mouthful. I don't give a fuck. Squirt if you gonna squirt. I ain't gonna stop you.
So older women
That's how
apparently
much I
squirt more than younger women. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna accept it because I date. I've been having a lot of younger women get at me lately. I'm talking like 30, 31.
These young
31.
These young cats, they like our
Listen,
old asses,
you better stop playing with me. I'm still fertile now. You better stop playing. They have some babies out here.
About to have some kids.
Some baby noetics. I don't know what it is, but yeah. So the young girls don't squirt as much as the older women. I like older women too, though. My age and up, I still love it though.
Yeah.
I
like them all.
I like them all too. Cass, what you got about the lesson?
Mine's so damn simple, but I was very excited to learn it because I've always wanted to try it. I learned how to make overnight oats.
Okay.
Make what?
Overnight oats.
Give us
I don't
some
know what that
details.
is. What
Let's
is
talk
that?
about it.
So I've been trying to be better with my meal prepping and eating healthier, more fiber-rich foods. So overnight oats is basically like your standard bag or canister of dry oats. And you can have a lot of fun with them. So you can mix it. I mix mine with part milk, part yogurt. And then you can put stuff on it like fruit. I put peanut butter on it, blueberries, and then you just stick it in the fridge overnight and it soaks overnight.
So it's like
And makes a really delicious breakfast in the morning.
So it's like marinated oats.
Yes. I've always
Okay.
wanted to start it and I just never have.
Okay.
And my first attempt was a bust. They tasted awful. So I've been experimenting
So
like
You still ate
every
it.
week.
You still ate it though, didn't you?
Of course I did. I'm not gonna we don't waste. We don't waste
Right.
in my house.
So when you do all of that, you mix it all up at that evening, put it in the fridge or whatever, and then you take it out and you heat it up.
No, you eat it
You
cold.
Okay.
You eat it cold.
Okay.
So I usually will pair it. I make like my little egg bites, my faux Starbucks egg bites
Okay.
and
Okay.
some fruit. And I've had overnight oats with sliced apples and cinnamon sugar on top. Delicious. I've had overnight oats with peanut butter and honey.
Fancy.
Delicious. Blueberries. Delicious.
So
So-
what
Nice and
is
healthy.
what is the benefit of overnight oats? What do you like about it?
The fiber.
It's the fiber.
The fiber.
So do you get more of that from it being like overnight versus if you just make it in
Like
the-
a hot.
or okay, so the idea is that overnight oats is the cold side of it, and the only way to get it, I guess,
It's
to
the
be
cold side, and you can have fun with it. So like,
There's more
if
you can
I
do
just
with
buy
it.
my standard Quaker
Quick
pack
oats,
of oats, it's already pre-flavored.
right.
I just heat it up, put a little butter in it, and that's it, right? I mean, I could sprinkle some fruit on it, but the fun part about the overnight oats is I get to experiment with different ingredients.
Okay,
I'm with it.
I like it. Overnight
So,
oats.
Overnight
I ain't
oats,
never had the
so
overnight oats.
good.
I'm gonna put my shorty on that and see how she like it.
I like to soak my oats.
Wait, You have to make it sexual.
I think Jay likes his oats moist, right?
Moist,
Like moist oats.
moist oats.
See?
I like moist oats. So I was gonna do. So good. Both of y'all have amazing method lessons, by the way. My method lessons is Taco Cat spelled backwards.
Scott, I knew you was gonna do that.
no, I saw you put it in this old thing to do it. But that's a real thing though. Taco Cat spelled back. I
wanted to know where you learned that.
Yes.
Did you just think of that?
Did you think of it?
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not that funny. Y'all know I like hoodies. So I was, I like to try to find like funny hoodies. I'm on Amazon like searching for like funny hoodies to find, and it came up. It said Taco Cat spelled backwards. It had a cat with a taco on it.
Yeah.
It said Taco Cat spelled backwards. It's Taco Cat. I was like, that's funny.
Did you get it?
No, I didn't buy it. No, I didn't buy it. But I'm probably gonna buy it. So my method lesson, and it kind of ties into what we talked about earlier. I'll just play it really quickly.
Okay.
And when I say it ties into what we're talking about earlier, y'all will see why. Because it's like,
no man who's been in love with a woman said, I hope she makes me chase her. Once we're now so invested, we don't want this to be difficult. We're hoping she reciprocates, not makes it more challenging. What you'll notice is it's easier for men to chase lust than it is to chase love. Because when you love someone and they're not receptive to you, it hurts. When you're just lusting after the woman, all you're focused on is what you want to get from her. Which is why you'll see some women have men who were never serious about you, but will chase you for years on end.
Wow.
Because they're just locked into, I want this.
Exactly.
That's it. That's where the men are hunters kicks in. But once he's emotionally into you, he doesn't want all this resistance.
Yeah.
That hurts too much.
I do think that there are men who don't want to be aggressed upon in that way.
How your actions will be perceived will be based on how much they had interest in you.
Right.
So a lot of women will say, well, men don't want to be approached this way. No, he probably was never interested. He didn't want to be approached by you at all. You could have been subtle, you could have been strong. He didn't want it. Exactly. It didn't matter. But most men are so happy to have a woman show him that she wants him, she has interest. He's going to be receptive to that if he has interest as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I thought that was an interesting take on that. And I don't disagree almost anything he said. But my question to y'all and the method heads is the chase expected and needed? So it kind of goes back to our earlier conversation. So based on the videos you just heard, do you think the chase, maybe to say it's a chase needed? Maybe not expected. I think we already talked about that we expect it in some regards. But so the question is it needed?
You mean like within the relationship or from the jump?
From the jump, however you want to answer it.
I'd say definitely from the jump, because I feel like everybody's trying to be protective of themselves. So you kind of have to make sure that you show genuine interest in this person, and the chase is part of that, but once I kind of agree with him, the idea is like once I get you, let me know I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like reciprocate, show me that you're invested as well, bounce the ball back. It can't just be me running after your ass all the time and you running away from me. Right. That's a game. Nobody wants to fucking play games with you if I'm serious about having a future with you. That's my take. What you think, Cass?
I definitely agree with what
she's struggling, boy. She's really like, oh, this is gonna hurt me.
No, I definitely agree with what he said. I absolutely expect it in the beginning, but I'm somebody, once we are dating or are in a relationship, I still like to feel chased or desired, because I do that for you.
Right.
So I'm somebody that's gonna make sure you know that I still want you, or you're still desired by me. So I do want it back. Like, I don't want you to feel like, okay, the chase is done. I'm with you now. Now I got you. So we're good. No, we're not good. I still need to know that you still have this strong desire for me throughout our relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like that's part of the give and take of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to chase to the ends of the earth, but if you don't necessarily show interest back, or you don't reciprocate in some way, then I'm gonna feel like I'm chasing nothing. I'm gonna feel like I'm just wasting my time.
I don't know if I think if I believe that it's needed, or maybe I'm just getting caught up on like the terminology of the words. Because I do feel like I do agree with you that once you have someone, you need to continue to show them that you love them, that you want them, that you appreciate them. So I don't know if I consider that chasing, but I guess it is in a sense. I would just, and the reason is kind of on my heart lately because I recently stopped talking to a young lady because I felt like all I was doing was chasing. Mm-hmm. And the expectation was that the man is the chaser, but also I had to be the one who was emotionally vulnerable first. I'm like, in my mind, I'm not going to fucking do all the everything and be the first one to step into this role. And I just felt like, I don't know if it's needed. You know what I mean? But I do feel like part of developing the relationship is that pursuit. But I don't know. It's just a thought. So anyway, let's finish off on this. Everyone who's on Spotify has probably already received their 2022 Wrapped or Unwrapped.
Spotify Unwrapped.
Unwrapped. We want to know what yours was and what your hottest genres were.
All I want to know is was Drake in your top 5? Because I feel like I fuck with most people who like Drake. 5. You know what I'm saying? I found out that Cass like a little Drake. I know Drake. Was Drake in your top 5?
I want to know if anybody out there listens to indie folk.
No.
What?
I got something for that.
Can you give me an artist?
Real quick.
Lumineers. Let's do Lumineers or Ray LaMontagne. They're pretty good.
You want me to play it? If I play it, it might get muted though. I don't know if we can play it.
What?
That's Facebook.
Like
man.
you would mute me?
No, Facebook. Facebook, not me.
I feel like I like some.
I think I've heard
something like
before.
that, but I don't think I'm familiar with these bands.
I'll send you some. Yes.
So what's the genre?
Do you know
indie what? Indie pop? You said
indie folk.
Just
do Ray LaMontagne.
I'm not gonna play indie.
Yeah, we'll get muted.
Yeah, I will send you guys some stuff.
So my top 5. Let me see if I can find my top 5. My top 5 artists. Number 1. Can you guess who it was? Who you think it was? Knowing me. Knowing Jay Noetic.
I saw that.
Who was my top 1?
Neo soul person.
This is my number 1. Who's my number 1 person?
Kendrick.
100%.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar is number 1. Number 2, someone y'all don't know, DJ Grumble.
Okay.
Number 3 was Drake. Number 4 was Glass Animals. You know who Glass Animals is?
No.
Wow. And number 5 is Tim's. So Glass Animals like alternative pop.
Okay.
But so for me this year, I really made a focus to listen to just more instrumental music without the words and let me just feel how the music makes me feel without having to intake
without any lyrics.
Without any lyrics, without like
the
whatever. It's just the music.
Okay.
And so I listened to a lot more instrumentals this year, which was dope. So like DJ Grumble, it's just a DJ. All his music is just a vibe, and like so
it.
yeah. So I'm
not surprised by that.
Actually, what motivated me for that, you know, I'm a huge Andre 3000 fan, and he obviously is not making music anymore. And like I think like last year he did an interview, and someone asked him what was he listening to these days, and he was like, man, I'm just listening to just music without words, without like, I'm just like violins and just moving how the music makes me move and how it makes me feel.
Right.
I said, I want to try that. And so that's what I just do. Like I just be around in my car riding and it's just a beat.
I like
and
that.
no music, you know, but it's a vibe too.
Remy, what were your top 5?
What was my top 5? It was obviously Drake was at the top. Somehow Ella Mai was number 2.
Dope though. Ella Mai is dope.
She is. So she's like R&B.
She said she don't know who Ella Mai is.
She's like modern R&B.
My heart. Yeah, she has so much potential.
I probably have heard a song.
I think
I'm terrible with artists.
So somehow one of her songs was my number 1 song, and I guess I played it a lot. But it's called "Power of a Woman."
Okay.
And it's just a dope ass song, and it kind of encompasses like it's the kind of song that I like it just makes me think about love and shit. You know,
Yeah.
I just like songs like that. It's a very loving like song or whatever. Number 3 was Beyonce, and I mean I've been part of the Beehive. Yeah, I've been part of the Beehive.
Beyonce.
I don't really know how that happened because I don't feel like I was listening to her album like that.
And you got Future on there. Wow.
Future somehow is number 5, but I think that's because Drake has a lot of Future. You know what I mean? But I'm not really a Future fan, but he's featured on a lot of stuff. And then Kendrick Lamar was number 4.
So what did they call y'all?
I'm actually surprised Kendrick Lamar didn't make my list.
I know.
My top 5.
They call me the adventurer. You're a seeker of sound. You venture out into the unknown, searching for fresher artists, deeper cuts, newer tracks, especially gems yet to be found.
That's what they said mine was too, but I feel like you're more adventurous than I am.
I liked mine. I'm the maverick. You know who you are as a listener. While everyone's bathing in the mainstream, you're frolicking in the side stream.
Frolicking. All right.
Shorty over there frolicking.
Hey, thank y'all for another dope ass episode. It is time to close this thing out.
I can just see you just listening to indie folk running through a field naked.
I was just picturing the same
This is my
thing.
shit.
Oh my god.
Oh, my indie folk. Oh, indie folk.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, next week we will have some special guests on the host, the podcast, his, hers, and ours. Casamigos will be taking a little vacation. She's going back
Going back
to Cali.
That's right. I'll miss y'all though, but
No, she won't. But it's okay. It's
I'll
all right.
be basking in the Bay Area.
Hope you enjoy that. I'm actually going to be gone next week as well, but I'll be here Wednesday.
Right on.
I'm going to Miami next Thursday. I'll be gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come back Sunday.
Better behave yourself.
I never behave.
Not in Miami.
Miami's expensive. I mean, I probably will behave. It's just, a couple guys going. So
Shout out to Solomon and Shannon. Shannon popped in with us for a little while, but yeah, we're gonna have him on the podcast. We were on his, hers, and ours before the live, and it's a good podcast. So we're gonna have a good time.
They say
I'm gonna miss Cass though.
I miss
But
y'all
it's all
too,
good.
but I feel like y'all are going to be in great hands.
It's gonna be a good time.
So don't give me that face.
They say the liquor make you talk quicker. We say M is for
mostly.
E is for
everybody.
T is for
talking.
H is for
honestly.
O is for
over.
D is for drinks. Till next week, man. Holla.
So that was wild. And that was just a taste. We do this every week. Just check out last week's episode.
He's right. That was wild. And you can catch last week's episode, the video episode, on Spotify. All the audio, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM. We appreciate y'all. See you soon.